Did the Soviets discover psychic phenomenon? You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Welcome back to the show. That's Matt behind the camera. I'm Ben, that makes this stuff they don't want you to know. Now, we're pretty excited because we put out our first brand new episode of 2014, What Are Soviet Psychotronics? Or what is Soviet Psychotronics? In short form, it's the word for parapsychology. That's what we would call it in the West. And from about 1917 to 2003, the USSR and Russia had their own programs that were sort of answers to the CIA's MK Ultra program. That's right. Can we use drugs to control the human mind? Is there any quantitative evidence of psychic or parapsychological or psychotronic phenomenon? The Soviet research on this was highly secretive, and the West knew a little bit about it during the Cold War, but not very much. So when we go to the question, did they discover psychic phenomenon? The answer depends on who you ask. On one hand, we have Soviet scientists who are convinced that they've discovered a bioenergy defined in some vague terms that all living things emit. And they've invented devices to focus this. On the other side, we have skeptics, not just in the modern day, but in the USSR the entire time these experiments were going on, who argued that this is pseudoscience. This is taking away valuable funding from what they would consider real research. Who's correct? Well, as crazy as it sounds, we still don't know. These documents, many of them, remain classified. That's right, not redacted, classified. No way to know what's going on. The trickle of information that we do have comes primarily from some recently declassified sources. Now, of course, it's very easy to quickly fall into the slippery slope or down the proverbial rabbit hole of people who will swear hand to God that they have intimate knowledge of these events. However, in many cases, virtually all the cases, these people have yet to produce corroborated proof. Members of the Russian government have alluded to unconventional weapons, and these members of the Russian government could be people like the former Minister of Defense, as well as Vladimir Putin himself. And when they say unconventional weapons, this could be anything from a way to disrupt communication between aircraft to electromagnetic energy fields to maybe even the stuff that the Soviet scientists were researching out there on the fringe of known biology. But what we do know is this, that there are experimental weapons that do use directed energy, some of the concepts explored by the Soviets during this research. One example of a directed energy weapon would be the active denial system that the West currently has. Now, as for what Russia has, we have no idea. We don't know if there's an applied research here. There's also an interesting theory that argues everybody knew the parapsychological research was worthless, that the United States and the USSR both knew that these projects might not have real merit, and that they were accelerating the stakes in a financial boondoggle to further damage the economy of these other countries. Personally, I don't see too much evidence with that. Just maybe there's too much missing information. I think it's much more likely that this is what occurred. The secrecy between the two nations' programs led them to overestimate the effectiveness of the other side's research. So of course you're going to pour billions of dollars or rubles into a program if you think your global superpower opponent has figured out telekinesis or clairvoyance. And again, it's just possible that someone has, and it remains classified. I don't think probable, but possible. You guys, that's it. We are going to continue delving into Soviet psychotronics because we think that the information that's going to be emerging in the next few years might have some fascinating stuff in there, and we hope you'll stick with us. But in the meantime, we've got a couple more things to do. You can catch Matt and I on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, and you can check out our brand new audio podcast where we go into a lot more detail. We've got a Soviet Psychotronics episode coming up. So that's it. Oh, and next week, what are we covering? That's a good question. Well, it could be eugenics, it could be superpowers, it could be designer children, it might be all three.